All right, another podcast from the Michigan Institute of Athletics in Brighton, Michigan. It's going to be an awesome podcast today. I'm joined by Jason Johnson, a gentleman that runs a nonprofit. He's got an incredible story, how he launched that business and how he got to this point in his life. But right before we get into it, I want to shout out VetLife. VetLife is a 501c3 nonprofit company. It's a company of veterans for veterans. Every veteran faces difficulties when they transition from active duty back to civilian life, and VetLife's there to ease that transition. If you want to reach out to VetLife, you can do so through Instagram or Facebook, or check out their website at vetlifetoday.org. So without further ado, Jason, I want to start this podcast the way that I start all my previous episodes. I think we're going to be a little bit expedited because we have a time restraint, but don't tell me about the man that you are today yet. Take me all the way back. Where were you born and raised? What were you like as a young kid? What did you think this life was going to have in store for you? And then how did your story unfold?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me so much. I'm honored to be here. My name is Jason Johnson. I'm from Hadley, Michigan, and I was born on 9 Mile, Providence Hospital. And, I grew up, went to elementary school in Waterford, went to high school, Lapeer schools. Been honored to be inducted to the Distinguished Alumni Hall of Honor in 2018 there. Give back to my community as much as I can because our nonprofit now is in Tennessee, but it's super important for me to never lose my Michigan roots. And so I have a scholarship in my sister's name that I do every year here. I sponsor the Lapeer Athletics. We were honored by the Red Wings this past Saturday. And it was so great to see, all the accomplishments up on the screen and everything I've done since basically 1993 is when I left Michigan, and I've really never came back or worked here, full time. I've had some opportunities with the government, and I've been around a lot, but being a Michigan kid, I never want to lose those roots, even though they take me all around the world now.
So when you were going through school, what did you think life was going to have in store for you? What did you think you were going to do when you got out of school initially? Did you have a track, set out? Did you think you were going to be on a certain path?
I absolutely did. My grandfathers were war veterans, a Marine in the Korean War, a Navy Seabee in World War II, and the rest of my family were factory workers, worked in Pontiac, Plant 2, Plant 6, GM. And I knew two things. One, I was going to be a soldier, and I wasn't going to ever work in a factory. So, and it's an honorable life. Put food on my table, it raised my family, so I don't want to act like I'm putting it down. I just knew it wasn't for me. I watched my family. My grandma's retired from GM. My grandpa was retired from GM. My dad's retired from GM. Aunts, uncles, everybody. And, I would see them just work every day, and focus on, hey, Saturday's time and a half, Sunday's double time, holidays triple time. And that was important to them, because, again, it raised my family and put food on the table. But for me, I knew that I was definitely going to serve my country. And so when I was 17, when I was old enough to sign the paperwork when I was still in high school, I signed up for the United States Army, and I left in September 93, and I never really looked back.
What was that experience like? You're a 17-year-old kid. You know that you don't want to end up in the factory, but, a lot of times what it is in your head versus the reality of the situation. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, I think back then, my parents really wanted me to go to college. In the 90s, going to college was still a thing. I think now we've gotten a little away from that, where people are seeing people have great jobs without degrees. But probably back in the 90s, I don't feel that was a way. And people thought people who went in the military couldn't hack it in college. Like you were looked at as not worthy, or you weren't smart. Well, just the opposite. In 1993, from Lapeer West and Lapeer East School, I'm the only one that's in the Hall of Honor. So obviously, that stigma isn't the right stigma. And you got to take the risk. And it's the same thing as we look all throughout my entire career, like starting this nonprofit project, K9 Hero. Going in the military was a risk. And my parents, I don't know, they still forgiven me. My first assignment was in Germany. So I got in Germany, I was still 18 years old, So I lived in Europe my first 3 years out of high school, making $730 a month, living in Wiesbaden, Mainz, Germany, which I thought I was rich back then. Had just enough money to do whatever we wanted, kind of. And you grow up fast. And, all the jobs I've had now, 31 years out of high school, in this career have led me to where I'm at today. And it all started with joining the United States Army. And I could never think of myself as what life would be like if I wasn't a veteran. I wouldn't even want to be that person, Service, and that's what my nonprofit does. We help veterans and first responders, and luckily I have a background in both. But super important to me to make sure we're giving back to that community. But I'm so honored, just like we talked about the Red Wings, having us at the game the other day. Salute to service, a veteran of the game. That's not for normal people. That's for special people, and I'm blessed to be one of those people.
You've now alluded to that several times, that if you follow the stream or you follow the current or follow the herd or however you'd want to phrase it, you're not going to be abnormal. And guess what? If you're not abnormal, you're not going to experience abnormal things like being at the Red Wings game and being put in the Hall of Fame. That's something to keep in mind. A lot of people are terrified to set out on their own path, but it's like that's where all the adventure lies. That's where the growth lies. That's where the magic in life really can be found, because you're going to need to use your brain more. You're going to need to figure things out. You're going to go through probably tremendous struggle, but also tremendous growth, and you're not going to have a template that's easy to follow. If you were the factory worker, you show up, you do your job, you get your paycheck, you probably work for the weekend, and you just repeat that method. And there's nothing wrong with that, but there's definitely a lot less unknown. But again, a lot less special moments. So did you serve your 4 years and then you came out of the military and then you go back to civilian life? What was the transition like? I always hear veterans talk about, they built a brotherhood. They were very connected to their, Army brethren. And then when they come out, it's very difficult on a lot of people. Was that the case for you, or were you able to transition back into society pretty easily?
Well, I got out. I did a 5-year contract, and I got out just right before the 5 years. And I wanted to be a SWAT K-9 handler. I was a military police officer. Didn't really get the opportunity to handle a dog in the military. It was just kind of the time of the mid '90s. Pre 9/11 and post Vietnam era and Gulf War stuff. So, it was just a kind of time of the. It was just for my age, but I wanted to get out and be a SWAT K-9 guy, and I wanted to be a police officer. I felt the Army was holding me back. I felt I wasn't getting all the opportunities that I could get. I didn't like the way the promotions worked. As much as I love serving, I watched a lot of people get promoted in other jobs because my job specialty was kind of maxed out on points. So I stayed, in a position at a pay rate that I felt that I was better than. And that's just the way the Army works. That's service for you. But I got out in 1998. Started applying at police departments right away. I got picked up pretty quick. I was good at taking tests, physical fitness, still in great shape back then. It was able to, immediately, but pretty much as fast as I wanted to, become a police officer. And, went to the academy. As soon as I could, I started putting on the bite sleeve, started volunteering to work with the dog program. And I worked almost for 6 years until I was given an opportunity to be a dog handler. But when I was given it, I was ready, and I've never done anything else since that day.
So I want to ask about one thing here. Throughout your story, I'm hearing you have a lot of rebellious energy and ambition at the same time. Where does that come from? Were you a younger sibling? Were you have like this spirit where you want to take charge, you always want to get to the next level, you want to get barricades out of your way, you know what you want to do and you want to go and do it. Where does that energy come from?
I don't know, because my parents and my grandparents are nothing like that, and I think I don't like being told no. I think I think if you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to do it. And just bet on myself. I'm willing to always put the money on me. I'm okay with the pressure. I'm okay with the responsibility. When I was a dog handler, like in Iraq, Afghanistan, I worked for the Embassy of the United States. I did every meeting between presidents of other countries. If the president of the United States was in Iraq, we would do this explosive sweep. So I've had as much pressure put on me as in my profession that one could possibly ever have. And I'm okay with it.
Man, that's incredible. I want to know, where does that confidence come from? Where did you find that confidence? Were you born with it? Where did you develop it over time? How in the world do you get to the point where you can say, hey, stack the weight of the world on my shoulders and I'm fine with that?
Yeah, I think I developed it. I think it goes back to joining the Army. As a military police officer, I became a leader when I was probably 19 years old, when I was in charge of troops. I became a supervisor. I was a patrol supervisor when I was 21 years old for an Army base. And I had people who worked under me where I was in charge. I guarded a multi-billion-dollar information facility when I was in Europe. And so at 18 years old, here I'm carrying a weapon in a foreign country with billions of dollars of equipment that I'm responsible for. So I think that really helped. And then when you become one thing I wanted to do when I become a police officer was K9 and SWAT. Well, K9 and SWAT is who the police call when they can't figure something out. When it's that bad, when everything is going wrong in the world, you call the K9 guy or you call the SWAT guy. I'm lucky I was both. And I felt, again, if this is the worst situation in the world, you put that pressure on me, I'm here to handle it. And I felt, in my 31-year career up to this point, that I prepared for that. And it's come with a lot of sacrifice. It comes with a lot of disappointment. As a nonprofit leader, we raised $4.4 million last year. So as a nonprofit leader, that's $12,000 a day I'm responsible for raising. I have to hear no 100 times a day. When you're asking for money and you're fundraising, you got to take 100 no's just to get 1 or 2 yeses. So I'm used to it. I'm used to all of that stuff, and I think that's what's really helped. That's the mindset you have to have in this business. And I was just fortunate over the 31-year career I've had thus far to build up to that.
Sounds like one thing you've noticed about yourself is you can recognize when you're an outlier. You can recognize when you're in an environment where you clearly stand out, where you're able to move up in rank or you're able to accomplish things that other people around you might be nervous to handle or take on. When you joined SWAT, when you went K9, did you finally feel like, man, I'm kind of around the people that are like me? Or did you still feel, even when you came into that setting, that you were the outlier that was going to go right through the ranks? Or you get around all the SWAT guys and you go, you know what, this is my tribe. These are the guys that are like me. Give me that transition.
Yeah, so, once I did get that far, I had about 5 years as in the military and I'm about almost 10 in the police department. So 15 years into my career, I'm finally SWAT and K9. These things don't come fast, first of all. I had to put a lot of work and time in. You don't just go join a major police department and become a SWAT K9 guy. I mean, I'm talking hundreds and hundreds of hours of training, just like you do here with the fighters, right? You're not getting a title shot day one. You're just not. So, when I did that, I thought, I want to go overseas. I want to work in Iraq and Afghanistan. I applied for Blackwater. Blackwater is a private company that worked with the Department of State and CIA, and they had K9 handlers, and they were the best in the world. And I thought, that's me. That's what I need to do. I applied in 2008, and I was the only one, what's called a personal security specialist, explosive detection K9. I was the only one that they had picked up that summer, and I went to a 30-day vetting course in North Carolina. I just took leave from my police K9 job, and I passed. And they sent me off to Iraq, and I did 300-something red zone missions, led the elections as a K9 handler in Iraq in 2008. I was the lead K9 handler used in the elections in Kabul, Afghanistan in 2009. Secretary of State at the time came over. I do those sweeps. I did everything that I wanted to do. And I think a lot of people at the police department were a little jealous of it, because the pay was outstanding. But we were very, very high risk. It clearly was worth it for me, but it was always a stepping stone. I didn't go to Iraq and Afghanistan to just make money. I went because it was a calling for me, because I wanted to be considered one of the best in the world at what I do. And to do that, that's where you had to go.
Man, I am fascinated. I'm trying to figure out how to expedite this conversation to get everything that we need to talk about. But I am already fascinated by you as a person and your story, because you're a man that every single time you get to a plateau, you then figure out how to chart your course up and how to aim up again. You are never satisfied, and you're always saying, okay, if I'm here, how do I then get to there? What is it about you that you've shown to the world that has opened those doors? Because for you to get a 30-day vetting and all of these things, people had to see your worth and say, he's the guy. Jason Johnson is the gentleman that deserves this opportunity. If you're going to be guarding and protecting presidents, you need to be an extremely high caliber human being. What was it about you that you think opened those doors, Jason?
You know what? I talked to my recruiter. His name was Ray Horst. He's a former 5th Group Special Forces guy. And me and Ray, over the years, because Blackwater has an alumni association, I became the alumni president. So, which I'm not anymore, but I was involved as the executive vice president for almost 5 years. So I went from the bottom to the top.
That's what I'm saying. But that's your story. Everything you're telling me is you start at one level and you get to the top. That's unbelievable. What is it that you're doing that is allowing you to propel like that?
So I know, just talking to my recruiter, why I got the job. One, you got to have certain backgrounds. Right? Hey, you had to be in the military, right? Okay. I was a military police officer. Not a Ranger, not SF, not a SEAL. That's okay. I was a dog handler. Well, you got to have a dog handler. Well, I had all my credentials. You got the training. I got the certs. You got all that. So that allowed me to, there's just basic qualifications. And being both military and police really helped me a lot. Being SWAT, being on K9, all that. I had to do all those things. So I qualified. But there's SWAT K9 guys in every town in America, right? So what really got me to the level is personal connections and responding in a manner like my life depended on it. So if Ray emailed me, hey, I need your DD-214, which is like your this certification, or I need your K9 this, within 10 minutes I had it back to him, and so now he's looking at a guy, well, hey, this guy's getting back to me. He's motivated. I'm going to give this guy a class date because he's looking at all these applications. Which guy are you going to give a class date to? Who are you going to pick? We all have similar backgrounds. I mean, my background when I got to Blackwater was nothing special. I mean, because during 9/11, where a lot of people are in combat, I was a police officer. Right, I didn't serve in Iraq and Afghanistan as in the infantry or anything. So I didn't have all of those skills, but I did have enough to get me where I needed to be. And the reason I got the job, or given the opportunity to take the vetting course, is because if he needed something in 10 minutes, I had it back to him. And he's told me in the past, he's like, man, you got the job because you responded fast, and I saw the motivation, and that's why you were selected.
Man, so you just make the absolute most with what you have is what you're doing.
You have to. I mean, you're a fighter, so there's always someone bigger. There's always someone better. There's always someone faster, stronger, smarter. Same way in this world. But we can use the skills we do have, and being responsive to emails or calls or messages is free. That don't cost anything. And just the same way in my nonprofit business. When donors call me and I answer the phone, they think to themselves, man, this guy scored away. This is where I do want to donate my money. But if you don't take the time, they just move on to somewhere else. And that's what would have happened at Blackwater. They would have just moved on to the next guy.
You really hold yourself to a high standard, Jason.
It's a blessing and a curse because I feel sometimes it's too high. That hey, we're all human, and you can still give some breaks. But I mean, even as today, and I just had a birthday here, turned 49, and now I'm approaching 50, and I got the standard so high right now that I feel bad for myself. But you know what? You only live once, and the last thing I ever want to be is considered average.
And it's an upward pull, man. When you aim at an extremely high ideal, even if you don't hit the ideal, it transcends so many levels of your character and discipline and commitment and conviction by aiming at something that high. So it's not even about whether you attain the perfection that you're seeking. It's how far could you go if you genuinely gave your best? And honestly, we probably don't know the answer to that question. If people in their lives gave their 100% in the pursuit of their goals, they probably don't even have the slightest glimpse of how far they could go in this life. But what most people do is if they don't see a defined way to their goal or they don't have a roadmap in front of them, they just don't take action. You're doing the opposite. You don't really know how answering that email instantly is going to help your future, but you know that it's the right thing to do. And then the doors just naturally open. I have a question for you. Did you allow your life to unfold in a way where you were just trusting your intuition and doing things to the best of your capability, and then the opportunities ahead of you became evident? It was like, you know what? Because I did this, this, and this, maybe I can do this? Or did you have a long-term plan where you already kind of saw something in the distance and you were tracking that down over and over? Which one was more close to your story?
I think I've more evolved because, when we look back when I was graduating school here in Michigan, I just wanted to be a soldier. I didn't think past that. And then I was like, okay, I want to be an officer in K-9 and SWAT. And I didn't look past that. And I thought when I achieved those things, I would just always be SWAT K-9. But then this opportunity came up in Iraq, right? Well, after that, I got the opportunity to work in the federal government. And I had a job in the federal government that was very high ranking, great money. I could be there today. I could have the best retirement. I have time off, much more time off than I have now. And could have done that. But no, I saw this opportunity with the nonprofit. And I thought, well, who's taking care of these retired working dogs? Then I thought to myself, well, there needs to be an organization that pays their bills like the VA. And I thought, well, if no one else is doing it, I'm probably the most qualified person in the world to do it. So I quit my perfectly good 6-figure government job that I could have retired and have everything in life. And I gave it all up to chase this dream.
Do you find your happiness when you're chasing your dream, though, or chasing a new goal, Jason? Is that where your happiness lies, is when you're constantly striving for something? Do you think that you might even slip into, I don't want to say depression, but you would, if you plateaued and you stopped aiming up and you just rode it into the sunset, do you think you'd struggle?
Yeah, I don't think settling is not a word for me because, when I started Project K9 Hero in 2016, this quarter, this month right here, we're going to hit $20 million in fundraising since the day I started in 2016. I'm going to tell you, that was never a number in my head ever in my life. I never thought to myself back then, which is only, 7 years ago, like, hey, but by first quarter 24, we're going to have 20 million raised. No, I didn't even think about it. But after the first year, you do 500,000, you do $1 million, then you do 2 million, 3 million. Now we're about 4 to 5 million a year right now. Well, no, I just want to be a $10 to $20 million organization. I want to be known as the most important nonprofit organization in the world for retired police, canines, and military working dogs, and we're probably almost there. But the great thing is there's no plateauing here. I have 700 applications for dogs to help, and I only can do 52 a year right now, 52 new ones. And the other ones, they come in and they stay in. So we're 269 right now at lifetime. And when there's hundreds of more I could help, but I'd have to raise the more money because, some of the dogs we pay $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 for. So to help them with their cancer, their lymphoma, their medical bills. So to me, there is no limit. I think the only, and I don't want to do this. I've been asked several times, but running for either Congress or Senate. But then I don't think I'd still be satisfied then. And I can do so much more in the nonprofit space than I could if I was an elected official. And so I've turned those opportunities down to be in public office. And I still want to get out here and do podcasts with you and tell people about my passion and get on as many TV shows and radio programs and magazines as we can because, think of how many dog lovers there are in this world, and I want them to know all about Project K9 Hero and what we're here to do for our nation's retired working dogs.
So you really, like I said, you aim up, you constantly get yourself to move forward, you hold yourself to golden standards, and the universe has rewarded you because of that. What is it that has kept your discipline for being your best for such a long period of time? Because I know most people, they rely on motivation. They rely on seeing the results. They're not fully operating off discipline. For you to build what you've built in your life, you clearly have mastered discipline. If you were telling a younger version of yourself or another person that has a nonprofit idea or your son that wants to go chase a dream, how in the world have you stayed so disciplined over such a period of time?
Well, I think it's difficult. I think it's goals. To me, I just want to achieve my goals, and I set high ones. And sometimes I look at my goals and I thought, wow, that's really crazy. But then again, I look at my whole life, and I've achieved almost everything I've ever set out to do. So then I look at I don't fail. So if I say I'm going to make something happen, I have because of my background and my personal connections, and I'm lucky. I'm surrounded by thousands of friends. I can make calls and get it done, probably more so than anyone I know, and that is a wonderful feeling. It's a wonderful feeling to know whatever I need, I can pick up the phone. I can call so many people, and they're there to help. And I'm the same for them, right? It's got to be in return. No one's going to help you if you don't help them. And I pride myself in those relationships, and being a guy that you can count on. I pride myself if you're down on your luck, you need a loan, you need a job reference, whatever you need, I'm here for you, because I have to use those people as well, in my life. And so I think I've just built it out over time, and as we do more and more things, just like the other day we talked about the Red Wings. I mean, I walked out there, they gave me a jersey. I walk out, I hundreds of people come up, shake my hand, and just it's a good feeling, right? And you just build upon that, and you keep going,
I want to talk about that moment in your life where you're working for the government, you're over there, you have a huge salary, you're making a lot of money, you could easily ride it to the sunset that you referenced earlier, but you came up with a nonprofit idea, the spark. Do you remember the day? Do you remember the moment? Do you remember, did it hit you in a very impactful way? Was it a slow progression from, man, maybe there's something here, and then you talk to somebody? Really take me to that period of your life where you launched the nonprofit, and then I want you to explain it to the fullest to someone that was like, you know what, that's somebody I'd love to support.
It was definitely in the fall of 2015, and I remember sharing with people I was going to start a nonprofit, and they're like, oh, good luck, It kind of like a joke or something. And
where did the initial idea come from? How did you
Yeah, so when I was in the government, I had an office down here at one point with Homeland Security, and I was what's called a field canine coordinator. And those dogs in the field, when they get close to retirement, the handler might come to me and say, hey, Jason, I took Rex to the vet, and the hips are getting bad, and talk to the vet. I think it's time to retire, for medical issues. And I would literally be the person who signed the hold harmless, gave them their dog, take it out of the government, and remove it from financial responsibility in the government. And that was my job, as kind of like somewhat of a program manager type thing. And I thought to myself, we're working these dogs. We use them. We just use them, military and government both. We use them right up to we can't use them anymore. And when they physically can't work any longer, we're not here for them. We just abandon them. Now, they're living with their handler for the most part, so don't get me wrong. But what is that soldier, that airman, Marine, or that first responder, or that government employee? They're not getting paid extra money during their career to handle the dog. When I say handle the dog, handle the medical things. And we know this. We know that 75% of our nation's canines are suffering from cancer, usually in their older age. We look at the carcinogens that we train them on with explosives, narcotics. Those can't be great for them to sniff their whole life. And now they have medical issues. And these dogs protect our communities. Say the airport, protect our nation's traveling, our law enforcement, our federal buildings, our presidents, everything. And we have all those at our facility out there in Tennessee, because we have a 177-acre place in Tennessee that we take dogs that don't have a home anymore. So if a dog is too aggressive or can't stay with his handler, we take those on too. And so I think that I think it's just such a worthy cause, and it's something I could really get behind, because I'm the voice for the voiceless. These heroes can't speak up for themselves. They can't go get another job. They can't take care of their own medical bills. And being a former handler, luckily both being military and police and federal government and working overseas, I feel like I'm the perfect person to stand up for them. And I was just in Congress this past week. I had about 15 meetings with congressional members. I was trying to get some federal funding to help, because now we get all of our funding from donations, from the private donations. But I feel the government's somewhat responsible too. So it was something I was working with the Department of Defense on. But again, I'm the person to go be a champion for them, because I know when you're still in the government, you're not allowed to go do that. Well, I'm not in the government anymore, and I'm not a police officer anymore, and I'm not in the military anymore. But I was all those things. So now I can be the voice for all of them, handlers and dogs alike.
The way that you just said that, I'm a voice for the voiceless, because as you were telling that part of your story, my brain thought to myself, those are soldiers. Those are people that have served communities, served the nation. They have given their life to the service that was laid before them, and they've done it to the best of their ability. And why wouldn't there be some type of plan or program to take care of those animals afterwards? Their entire life wasn't lounging at home on the couch. It was working for what our needs were. We use the dogs to accomplish very difficult tasks. And why wouldn't they have that type of backing? They backed us throughout all these projects, programs. Why would they not have backing from the government or programs? I know why. I understand all the red tape. I understand all the paperwork. I understand all the litigation that has. I get all that. But it's wonderful to know that there's a man going to bat for that. So you launched this nonprofit. Take me through what it was like starting the nonprofit, maybe the first breakthrough you ever had. Like, really build it up for me, for the people that want to know the story, to get to the point where you're saying, I hit $20 million in donations.
Yeah, when I first started, I was still active in the government, so you got to be careful. You got to get some paperwork signed. They don't want you talking about it at work. You can't be too voiceless. Or too vocal about all your stuff. Even though I'm helping their dogs. It's kind of weird. But I remember just making my first logo, and we started we did some hats. I had the logo on the hat, and I remember selling the first 50. I remember it was like $5,000, and I had to put it on a credit card, and now in that operating account, we're approaching almost $1 million in cash in there right now. So I remember my first check for $500. I thought it was the coolest thing. And now we get for $10,000 and $20,000 all the time. And I still get excited about it. I still get super excited, emotional, pumped up when I see a $20,000 check come in. We got a donation this week from a handbag company called Heritage Handbags. Shout out to them out in Bend, Oregon. They did a yearly donation to a charity. It was $112,000. And we got chosen this year. We bid out Ronald McDonald House and some other ones. And I thought, man, $112,000, you believe that? That's crazy. So I still get super excited. But I remember starting, and honestly, I've done so much work from website to our apparel to all these things. I'd hate to start it over again, because it's been a learning experience. Because I ended up going to college. I have a bunch of degrees, security management. I have masters and bachelor's and associate degrees, but I'm not a business major. I didn't know anything about starting a nonprofit, but I surrounded myself with smart people, people who know how to build websites. I have graphic designers that work for us now, people who know how to take care of things. And I guess if I had to do it again, I would be hesitant, because I used to have days off. I used to sleep at night. I don't sleep at night anymore. I don't have days off. It's 7 days a week. It's 24/7. And I'm okay with it, because I feel, again, I'm built for that, right? But I haven't had a vacation in years, and I may never take one. I don't know, because donors, when they call my phone or message me, they expect that, hey, I donate this, and you got to call them back, and you got to be there, and you got to answer emails, and you have the staff working for you, and it's been a long road, and I'm not saying it's for everybody, but when we go back about Blackwater, about replying, right? It's the same thing with donors and supporters and partners. If I don't reply to them, they just move on. They just go somewhere else. And that $4.4 million last year wouldn't be $4.4 million. It might be $1 million or $2 million, right? And I got goals to get us to 5 and 10, and we're building a facility down there that's worth $8 million. So I still have a lot of things I need to accomplish. And it's a passion, and it has to be a passion. They say, you find something you're passionate about, you never really work. It's okay. It's okay that I might get up at 3 a.m. and work till midnight. I'm okay with it, because it's my passion. I'm not working for somebody else. I'm working for a dream that I built. And so I can live with that.
That's exactly what I was going to say. But you brought this to life. That logo that I'm looking at exists because of an idea that was in your brain that you brought to fruition. You could have got that idea and just let it go and say, nah, you know what? I don't know the business world. And you wouldn't have the life that you have now. You wouldn't make the impact that you're having. You're willing to sacrifice tremendously, because that is your creation. You are going to leave a legacy to some degree. You're going to pass something on. You're going to affect countless lives in a positive manner. That's worth fighting for. It was funny when you were describing that, and it almost looked like you were going to get a little emotional about it. It's the same way I feel about this place. When you build something from the ground up, it's like a child. It's like having this thing that, its life means as much to you as your life. It's very bizarre to think of it in that terms, and I think only people like you and I, or people that are on a similar path, would understand that. But it's like, I created this and I will sacrifice tremendously for the success of this. And, your passion is evident. And that's what you want to see in people that are leading programs. The reason people would want to support your program, they need to know that the leadership and the program itself is genuinely doing what it has set out to do. They have to trust in you. They have to believe in you. They have to see the impact. They have to know that they're making a difference in an animal's life or in someone else's life, because it's not just the animal. Like you said, it's the handler. It's you are making a difference by making this donation to Project Canine Hero. I don't want to wrap this up too short, but I do not want you to miss your flight. So I'd say we have maybe a maximum of 5 or 10 minutes left so that you won't be stressed. With that being said, just anything else you'd like to talk about, your nonprofit, moments in your life from your military that was incredible, a specific donation that really rocked you or stood out that you remember dramatically, that you're like, man, maybe I'm making it. It's going to work. I'm going to do this. Because we all have those moments in our life. And Steve Jobs always says, like, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. And certain dots had to line up for you to sit here today and to be in the position you're in. Do you remember any incredible moments that really made you go, I'm on the right path and this is going to work out? And maybe by the year 2030, my goals could be this, just anything else you'd like to record on the podcast, and then we'll wrap this thing up.
Yeah, there's been, I'm so blessed, first of all, with a great family and amazing people who are around me. I need to give them credit. People see me on TV, they hear me on the radio, but it's a tribe. And there's people who work for Project Canine Hero. We have 17 employees now, dozens of volunteers. I've had a great family who supports me because my ideas have been crazy, Like, a parent never would want to, like when I quit my government job, there's probably 1,000 people applied for that job, and I got selected. Just like at Blackwater, there's probably thousands of people applied for that. So when you leave something like that, don't always be able to get it back. But it's the risk. It's really the risk. And you can't be afraid, for anyone listening to this out there, if you have a dream, it's never going to just fall into your lap. Like, you have to take the risk. You have to be willing to bet on yourself. You have to put it all on the line. You have to be willing to lose everything. And I took $500 out of my own pocket to start this thing in 2016. And like I said, I look at the bank account today and I'm just amazed. And I watch the checks come in and all the dogs we're helping and the bills we were able to pay and the employees we have. So I think first and foremost, I just want to give a shout out to everyone who's ever worked for our organization, supported our organization, partnered with our organization. We have hundreds of partners. And I know that sometimes I sit up there and, like at the Red Wings game, and they see me out there on the screen, but I didn't get here alone.
Honestly, and you're standing there, as symbolism for your entire organization. You getting that award up there is all of you guys. I mean, the difference is being made. You're making it. And it's like I said, it's incredible to sit with you, and I've enjoyed the conversation thoroughly today, and I wish that I could spend another hour and a half talking to you, because the amount of life lessons you've learned by pursuing the paths that you've taken in life, you probably have a tremendous amount of wisdom that you could pass down to people, and it's unconventional wisdom. Everyone, it's easy to say, oh no, don't take that risk, what if you fail? But I love talking to the dreamers. I love talking to the people that take the risks, because there's a saying in jiu-jitsu where it's you either win or you learn. And that's like the type of life you've lived. You were either stacking wins or you were learning the appropriate lessons that were allowing you to level up, to become a better man, to prepare you for the next opportunity. That is a win in itself. So it's honestly, you win or you win. It's just given to you in different ways. And if you can handle that, this life is an endless adventure. You can do anything you want. You're sitting here today in a nonprofit that's produced $20 million in donations. It's incredible. For anyone that listens to this episode and they want to know more, they want to get involved, they want to see the impact exactly that you guys have made, just shout out the project, the website, how they could contact you, talk about the Detroit Red Wings thing a little bit further if you'd like, or any other just anything that you'd want to tell people about the project.
Yeah, it's an amazing. So, Project Canine Hero itself is a nonprofit that helps retired military working dogs and police canines with medical care. Again, we have that rehabilitation rehoming facility we do. So we do some adoptions and we save their lives. And there's so many great stories and videos we have out there. So I would really encourage someone, check out our website, projectk9hero.org. And on the website, we have all kinds of just stories of heroics. Dogs have been shot in the line of duty. Dogs have been paralyzed, injured. Videos. We have a web store on there where you can see our apparel, support us that way. Donations, ways to give, and read some of the stories about these dogs. I can get pretty. I know every dog. I know every dog story. I know their names. I know their handlers. I know where they worked. I know what years they worked. I know everything about them. And it's almost, I don't even know how one brain can remember that much sometimes. But I feel like they're family. I feel like anytime we put in one new hero a week, 52 a year, and I feel like we're welcoming someone to the family because we're going to take care of them for life. And we mean that. And we're honored to do that. And I couldn't be more excited or proud, to be the person who gets to make those calls and say, hey, welcome to Project K9 Hero. You're going to be program member, whatever. And we're going to be taking care of your medical bills for the rest of your life. I mean, the amount of stress that takes off the owner. And these are first responders. These are soldiers, airmen, Marines. And, it's not just a nonprofit. When we help a dog, we're helping a family. We're helping someone who served our country in one form or another. And to me, that's important. Because, just think of the mental stress. Maybe they served overseas. Maybe that dog saved their life. Maybe they can't afford these bills and they don't know what to do. Maybe there's only two things that are going to happen if there's not someone like Project K9 Hero stepping in. They're going to go into personal debt or the dog's going to go without. And I don't want to see either happen. So I've dedicated my entire life, and I will continue to dedicate my entire life to protecting those who protected us. So you can follow us, Project K9 Hero, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube page. Great videos. Get your Kleenex ready if you're going to brave some of those videos. And our website, projectk9hero.org. You can contact us on there. Reach out to any form of social media. We got about 250,000 followers on all of our combined pages. And I want to thank you for having me. Being a hometown Michigan kid, coming back here, this week for my birthday, and being honored by the Red Wings. And it's just not the Wings. Like I said, my school has honored me. My dog Flash was the Law Enforcement Dog of the Year in America in 2018. It was on Good Morning America on Veterans Day this past year down at our facility. I get on news channels, New York City, all kinds of stuff. So every opportunity is an important opportunity to me. I don't care how small it is. I don't care how big it is. But I got a saying that I do want to share with all your listeners. To treat every person you meet like they can change your life forever. And that's how I treat, just like me and you meeting today. Like, you're going to change my life forever. And I think that's important.
Man, that's a beautiful outlook. And the summary you just gave for your nonprofit is just world class. So everybody that has animals too, what a profound impact an animal makes on your life. And like some soldier, I've seen some people out there that are hanging on more effectively in their lives because of the connection that they have with an animal. So it's like you're supporting way more than medical bills. The depth of support that comes from Project K9 Hero is hard to understate. So I appreciate the time today. You got a flight to catch. I really hope that maybe 2, 3, 4 years down the road, we catch up and I hear that the nonprofit's at 50 million. So thank you again, Jason, and good luck with the nonprofit.
Thank you so much for having me.